Hello. Okay, I'm going to work here on homework problem number 5, and this time I drew it before I got to the recording, so you don't have to sit and watch me record or draw. So what they've asked us to do is they've given us vector A, B, C, and D, each of these 4, and they're asking us to estimate the magnitudes of each of these. In some cases just one component, and in some cases both components. So let's go through and look at that. So on part A, they're asking us what is the x component of A. Alright, so first thing I need to do is break it into its components. So the x component is going to be this way. And always be sure to label these. It will avoid confusion. Always label them and put your tips on the arrows. So this is AX and this is AY. And you always want to draw it like this as the triangle, AX and AY, as opposed to say this. While technically both of them are correct, when we start working with the angles, it's going to be a lot easier to keep track of the angle if you've drawn it this way rather than this way. Again, this is not incorrect, it's just kind of setting yourself up for a little bit of confusion if you're not careful. So I always recommend drawing your components this way, the way they're oriented with the two vectors end to end. So remember, it's just the way you're adding them, so you would take this y and slide it down. So always make a triangle with your coordinates or your components. So that's my AX and my AY. So they're asking me for the x component of A, so that just means what's the magnitude of this vector. And if you look on the screen, you can just estimate it directly off because they give you how many hash marks is. You just estimate the magnitude and type it in. And I'm not going to give you the number. I'll let you look it up and try that one yourself. The next thing they're asking, what is the y component of A? That means this one. Again, they're asking for the magnitude. So, oh, I forgot to say now, x of course is pointing to the right, so it's going to be positive. AY, again, you can just kind of estimate from the axis they give you in the length on the screen to get the magnitude. It's pointing vertically, so that means it's going to be positive. Part C, they're asking for the y component of B. And by the way, while you're watching this video, I recommend that you shrink it to one side and have the Master in Physics on the other side, so you can actually see the Master in Physics screen at the same time I'm talking you through it. So let's see, part C, what is the y component of B? Alright, let me break it into its x and y components. Unfortunately, it's going to be right over the top of AX here. So here's BY, and BX is right in here. Okay, right over the top of AX. What is the y component of B? So again, from the scale right here, estimate the magnitude of BY. That gives you your magnitude. Now BY is pointing down, so you need the sign. Notice in the question, they're not asking you for the magnitude. They're just saying, what is the y component? So you need to put in the magnitude with sign. So in this case, it'd be -3. Oh, I gave you the answer for that. I didn't mean to give you the answer. Part D, what is the x component of C? Alright, so let's get our components here. This is CY. This is CX. Again, I'm making the triangle here. So, what is the x component? Well, I can kind of project it up to here and estimate the length of CX. So that gives me my magnitude. Now it's pointed to the left, so I need to put a negative sign on there because of course they're asking me not just for the magnitude but for the x component. Alright, part E, they're asking you for both components on B. They're asking you for x and y. So x of course would be this magnitude with its sign, which is positive, and y would be this magnitude with its sign, which is negative. And then they're asking you for the same on D. So let's go ahead and draw the components for D. Again, always label them. It will avoid confusion later if you do. So here's my dx and here's my dy. So again, what is the magnitude of dx? Well, I can estimate it from the scale here. It's pointing to the right, so that would be positive. dy, I can project over here, estimate that. It's pointed down, so it would be negative. So dx, I'm going to go ahead and write on here, dx is actually positive 2, dy is negative 3. Now if you had done part B already, you would see similarly bx is positive 2 and by is negative 3. So that leads us into part G. In the third part of the question, they're asking about these two vectors B and D. And it's kind of busy, so let me draw over here again a fresh axis. So B was coming like this, and D was like this. Now, based on what we were seeing back here, we could see that the components on each of these are the same. The x and y components from B and D are both identical. So does that mean the two vectors are identical? Well, let me ask that question another way. Let me get one of my little colored vectors over here again. If I have this vector right here and I say this is D, if I slide the vector down to here, is it the same vector? The answer to that actually is yes. As long as I don't rotate it or shrink it or make it bigger, it is the same vector. All I have done is I've just slid it down, and that is okay. Remember when we were adding vectors, we were sliding them. So if I was wanting to add these two vectors together like this, I could take this vector, I don't shrink it, I don't rotate it, I just simply slide it with the same orientation and the same length. So yes, that is absolutely the same vector. So B and D are the same vectors. They're pointed in the same direction with the same angle, and they have the exact same components. They are the same vector, just in a different location.